Well, hello and welcome to another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. This time I'm featuring a car I never thought I would feature, and that is an Austin Healey. Why do I say that? Because they were a massive success story, but they were the sort of car that most home mechanics or budding home mechanics could actually hopefully do more good than harm to if they worked on them themselves. So we don't get a lot of Austin Healeys in the workshop, simple as that. But this is not an ordinary Austin Healey. This is, the customers bought this, they've brought it in. It had some mechanical things, just neglect and bad workmanship, really. He bought it unseen from somebody or other. And we've just given it a good going over mechanically. We've made it compatible. He's going to be participating in some hero rallies with the car, so we've got all the necessary stuff to comply with regulations, the electronic timing gear, etc., etc. But this is a special Healey. This is a BMC Works Competition car right from the outside, right from the word go. And that makes it very special, actually. So the Austin Healey, great piece of British engineering and marketing. 80% of them went over to the US. A massive amount, which fitted in very well with the zeitgeist of the early 50s in the UK. The economy was still very depressed. And also, there were incentives paid to British companies who exported to help with the balance of payments coming back into the UK. So this was a marriage made in heaven, really, for Donald Healey and Lord Leonard, who was the chairman of BMC, British Motor Corporation, of which Austin was a part. And that was why in 1952, the Austin Healey was born. Beautifully styled car. And it started off with a 4-cylinder engine, 2.7 litre. Mechanically, it was a model called the Austin A90 Atlantic, which was a version 1 of this, a very different version 1 of this. Probably the most exotic Austin ever made. It was very expensive. Mechanically, it had the 2.7 litre 4-cylinder engine, big engine for 4 cylinders at that time. And be quite a job suppressing the mechanical vibration from an engine like that, with all that reciprocating weight at the time. But it was a different era. Porsche, of course, brought out a 4-cylinder 2.5 engine, and they used balancer shafts in 1982 to tame it. None of that with this, the original A90. It had hydraulically operated windows, like some of the American cars of the time, the Lincolns, and I think there were a couple of other makes used them as well, all very exotic. They rusted like no business, like all cars of that era did, and eventually the A90 was a flop. But what happened was, with Austin's meeting with Donald Healey, they said, hang on a minute, we've got all these lovely mechanicals, which we have essentially going to waste in the production of the Austin A90 because the uptake wasn't there. Why don't we make a nice sports car? And the rest is history. This was a runaway success on both sides of the Atlantic, but particularly the US. British Motor Corporation set up a competition department at Abingdon near Oxford, and the cars were historically red with a white roof. That was how they were distinguished. You had the Monte Minis, as it's called, the Minis that were entered in the Monte Carlo Rally. 33 DJB, I think, was the registration, or something like that, of one of the most famous, Paddy Hopkirk, Timo Mäkinen. They obliterated the competition. In fact, it got so obvious that they were superior that the French authorities invented some new lighting regulations to try and exclude them. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Along came the big Healey, as it was known, to differentiate it from the small Healey Sprite, the tiny little frog eye car. The big Healey was born in 1952, as I say, initially with the 4-cylinder engine. Then later in life, they went for a 3-litre straight six engine, push rod. It was a very nice sounding power plant. It did the job very well. It's not a particularly heavy car, even though it's got a sturdy chassis underneath. As I say, they picked cars off the production line, and their destiny was very different from being a leisurely road car. These were meant to be serious competition cars, and that's exactly what they were. This car was plucked off the production line in 1962. It was registered straight to the British Motor Corporation's competition department. They took the car apart. They made aluminium front wings with these special vents in the side to aid engine cooling. It's got a very hot engine in it, different pistons, different camshaft, different carburation, different porting in the cylinder head. The standard, they were 130 brake horsepower. This was up to about 170, 180. The rear axle on this particular car, as with all the Healeys, is what's called underslung. So in order to keep the car as low as possible, the chassis actually runs underneath the back axle. Very much like Ferrari 250 GTs, some of them actually, same concept. But this car was given to Umberto Pizzolini, I think his name was, and he ran Innocenti, which was British Motor Corporation's arm in Italy. And apparently, he used to drive this car thunderously to Italy and back on various errands and to do testing of the car, proving before its sister ships were entered into important rallies and things like that. So this car's got some stories to tell, for sure. It's on its original registration number from new in 1962, which is lovely. The engine in particular has been heavily breathed on. It's got 3 whopping great SU HD8 carburetors, so that's 2-inch diameter carburetors, 3 of them, the same as a Jaguar E-Type. Now, we must remember this engine is 3 litres. A Jaguar E-Type with that exact same carburetor installation was 4.2 litres, which means this was very free breathing indeed. It's, to have 3 large carburetors on a 3-litre engine when they actually do very well on a 4.2 shows that this car was very seriously breathed on. It's got the original Works hardtop on it, which is as light as you like, Perspex rear window, very thin material, fiberglass that the hardtop's made out of. The whole car is built to win. When it came in, the car had previously been used for circuit racing, so was lowered at the front. But it had no sump guard on it because it was purely designed to be driven in races on a flat, smooth track. As a race car is. So we've had to raise the front suspension back to normal height, fit a very substantial sump guard on it, because this car is now going to be driven on road events, and you never know. It's certainly not a racetrack, as is only too evident if you drive down most public roads in the UK these days. So we've raised the ride height, we've welded brackets on the chassis, fitted a sump guard. The brakes were in a pretty parlous state. There is no servo on the brakes at all, even though the fronts are discs. Disc brakes need a servo. They need pedal assistance to work properly. There's none of that. It's good old-fashioned push hard on the brake pedal. So, as I say, most Healeys can be worked on by people who are confident with a spanner or a screwdriver. It's not a fearsomely, it's a very simple push rod engine. The whole car is very simple mechanically, and that is one of its essences. That's one of its qualities, because, as I say, 80% of them went to the US. People in the US could drive them, and if the back brakes needed adjusting, they jacked the car up and adjusted the rear brakes. It wasn't a big deal. So provided the ignition system was kept on top of and the car was serviced and maintained, they were very sturdy cars, actually. But any Works Healey like this is comfortably into 6 figures, cost-wise, if it's in good condition. And they are very, very desirable, actually. Yeah. We'll take it out for a run, but there is an ex-Works BMC genuine competition, Austin Healey 3000. Well, the Healey is very rough and ready, but that's part of its appeal. It's a sort of brute in a way. And this car could be described as brutish. Plus. It really is. The engine is absolutely bursting at the seams to go. I mean, you only have to touch the throttle to open those 3 big carburetors up, and she's off. It really is quick. or it certainly feels responsive, shall we say. Beautiful gearbox, 4 forward gears, and no synchronized meshing on first, so if you're not careful, it crunches just like that. And the throttle, you only have to touch it. It's so funny. You know, you don't think of SU carburetors being responsive, but this, you only have to touch the throttle, and it is. Okay. Wow. This feels like a competition thoroughbred. It really does. No body roll. Part of the trickery was to uprate the suspension on this to 14 leaf rear springs. So you got 14 slivers of steel, which actually work the rear suspension, which is a lot. I think Rolls Royces and Bentleys were about 9 off the top of my head. This car is built for one thing and one thing only. The indicators are very non-standard. They're normally in a hub in the middle of the steering wheel. Yeah, let's open the taps and savour that beautiful race-developed chassis working through here. Oh, amazing. And the steering is very high geared. Beautifully set up for heeling and towing, the brakes and the accelerator. You can just dance with the pedals like you could in the Jaguar D-Type that I drove recently, or 2 of them, 2 X-Works Jaguar D-Types, and you literally just kiss the brake with the toe of your foot into corners to give a requisite braking, dance with your right foot heel to blip the throttle, double D clutch and down into the next gear, and then you have this. So nervous, this car. It literally, the steering is just so incredibly responsive for a very antiquated setup, very primitive setup, but just shows what can be done. I mean, there were some clever engineers. These were world beaters, you know, the Monte Carlo rally. This car was built for a rally. Just addictive, heeling and towing and double D clutching again, into the corner, out, point. Just incredibly satisfying, really. Just beautiful. I haven't driven many Austin Healeys, but I'm sort of starting at the top here, an X-Works competition car. And one of the things that, strangely enough, defines a competition car is awful panel gaps and pretty awful presentation. You know, holes drilled here for things that don't line up. The panel gaps on this are truly awful. And I suspect that's how it was. That's, by the time they'd finished with it, that's exactly how it was. And in a way, it's a tell for a proper, true competition car, is bad panel gaps, because they made everything as light as possible, thin aluminium. It wasn't designed to look elegant, it was designed to function, and that it does. So I'm sure there are, particularly in the US, there are a lot of Healeys that are actually restored to not just as better condition than this, which would be very easy to do, but also restored, I suspect, to perfection, really, to better than they left the factory. But this one is still delightfully terrible when it comes to panel gaps, just as it should be. Here we go. I never thought I could have so much fun in a big Healey. Absolutely wonderful. Well, thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe, it is very important, and we'll be back with something else very soon. Wow. That was an amazing drive.
Yeah.
What a car. Yeah. We should do an outtake of this, really, shouldn't we?